Now this is going to be an exciting video. I get asked all the time, how do you improve responses from your cold email? And I've been running a test, and in this video I'm going to be showing you the hard data behind some really simple changes you can make to actually increase your response rates. And it's got nothing to do with, warming more inboxes and changing your copy dramatically. This is all AI automation driven, and it took a control that was getting a 1.3% response rate through to a 6.85% response rate, and I reckon I can get that to a 10% response rate. So let's dig into this video. Before I do, if you're new to this channel, my name is Joel House. I've scaled my agency to $146,000 a month. I've had it for 10 years and I've done 8 figures in sales. So I'm here to help you succeed in the business model that's been so good to me. Let's jump in. So really cool video. And what we're going to be testing here today is actually what we call custom subject lines. Now, custom subject lines is an area of personalization that I feel is a little neglected. You see, a lot of people talk about custom icebreakers and they want to optimize that initial icebreaker chunk. And don't get me wrong, that's a really powerful thing, but it's an amplification element, as you'll see later on. Now, using these tips, just the subject line alone, I got a 3.8x higher response. And like I said, I took a 1.3% control to a 6.8%. So what's that, about 6% growth by implementing both. So my theory with this test was that not all models and settings are created equal. And what I wanted to test is, does spending more money on a higher quality model yield better results? And the short answer is not always. Some of the more expensive models are actually not better. So the next question was, is it worth pinching pennies? Will you get a better ROI by doing that? So here's how I tested. First, I pulled up a lead list for a niche I hadn't emailed before. I ran a fully static control email that I'm going to show you in a sec. And then I split test leads at random and optimized the various variables. So what I did, I took a chunk of leads and I emailed them a fully static offer that I know works. So this is like proven static copy and static openings. And I took one big scrape of Apollo and ran those leads. So I knew what this database and what this niche responded at, because every niche responds differently. Then what I did is I split out a chunk of leads. So each of the tests had the same number of leads to run through. And then I optimized things. And then I ran the exact same sequence, but I randomized inboxes. So for this one, I didn't want to have any deliverability or as minimal deliverability input as possible. So what I did is I took 15 inboxes and I shared them across all 5 campaigns. So all 5 campaigns at total random were sharing the same 15 inboxes. Low volume, so there's no volume hit. All these domains are super clean and they're really well optimized. So deliverability is no issues there. And then compare the results. So here's the control. And it's a pretty standard control. It's a very direct to response control. So we've got a 1.3% response rate here. And it was simple. The subject, Joel, me, and then their name. Pretty standard, email you'll see. And I've built out AI SMS outreach systems, sending hundreds of SMSs a day to texts to homeowners daily. SMS texts to homeowners daily, sorry. This can bring you 50 to 100 leads in the Gilbert area. I customize that to their location. And that's one of the things, so it's not technically fully static as I'm, optimizing at least for their business model, or for their region, sorry. Every month. Best part is you don't pay anything up front, no monthly retainers, ready for a chat. Joel House, founder, Expand Digital, sent from my iPhone. Pretty standard sort of email. There's nothing really fancy about it. 1.3% response rate. Nothing to write home about. This was a pretty low responsive niche. It was in the home services sector, so they're not always on their phones. Professional services do generally get a higher response rate. Now, here's what we did. And I'll walk you through before I tell you the results. So this isn't the data I use, this is an example to give you some examples, okay? So we tested a few models. We tested Haiku, we tested Sonnet 3.5, Sonnet 3.7, we tested Opus, we also tested GPT-4, which I did not put in the spreadsheet. Then again, actually GPT-4 I tested in the openers over here. So just to give you an example, and I'm going to walk you through and you'll see the step up of the quality of the openers here. So Haiku at 250 tokens. Now, one of the things is the more tokens you allow software to use, the better the response rate will be. And after I run you through the test, I'll walk you through the automations here so you can see exactly how I built them in Make.com, both the subject line and the email personalization. So stick to the end. So Haiku, super cheap. It costs about 5 cents per 1,000 emails. Now, if we look at Anthony, we've got Anthony, warehouse efficiency insights. Alicia, quick question on kitchen design in Austin. Andrew, rare woodworking skills caught my eye. Not bad, actually. I thought, oh yeah, that's actually okay. Now, Sonnet 3.5, again, 250 tokens. This will cost about $2 per 1,000 emails, so it's not what you'd call expensive because your token count is so small. I will show you in a sec the difference between a 250 and a 500 token. Did I do the 1,000 token data in here? I did not. But yeah, you'll see the difference there. Sonnet 3.7, and so here at Sonnet 3.5, rather than it being Anthony, warehouse efficiency insights, it's Anthony, saw your focus on warehouse efficiency. Alicia, notice your cabinet design work in Phoenix. Okay. I mean, the fact that somehow it went from Austin to Phoenix is a little concerning. Andrew, rare woodworking skills caught my eye was Haiku, and then here we've got noticed your lumber experience in Tulsa. Okay, starting to bring in some locations, get that a little bit better. 3.7, Sonnet 3.7, a little bit cheaper to run this one. And it went Andrew, Anthony, production efficiency and construction, noticed your work with historic home restoration. That was actually a pretty cool, sort of email opener. Then I went all out and I tested Opus. Opus is the Claude version of Deep Research. It's their pinnacle model, and really it's something that's pretty expensive because you cost about $7 per 1,000 emails. Now, if you're sending 1,000 emails per day and you're on a budget, you're going to be running $210 worth of credits just on your opening line. This isn't personalization, this isn't scraping, this isn't writing, this is just your opening line. So for the Opus subject lines, we've got some interesting ones in here. Like if we look at Alicia, we've gone from quick question about kitchen design in Austin through to renovations in Phoenix must be booming. I mean, the fact that the more intelligent solutions here have all picked up Phoenix and this one picked up Austin, a little concerning. Linda's construction looks great. This one is cool. Andrew, restoring 1700 to 1930s homes is a rare skill. Rebuilding homes and dreams at Strongmore. That must be a part of their website. So you can see Opus is definitely doing a lot better. Now, what if we take that from saying, hey, your limit's 250 tokens, which is pretty small, to 500 tokens. Now, remember, this is going to double the cost. I was only interested in this with the more expensive models. I wanted to see how this played out. So if we look again, the comparisons, Anthony saw your focus at efficiency at Instone. Now, this is the first time that we've had a reference to the company, which means that the models actually had enough time to research the customer a little bit better. Andrew, connecting about your custom woodworking for historic homes. That's getting pretty cool. Now, if we come down to Opus at 500, Anthony, love the efficiency on team. Curious how you keep Instone's warehouse humming. That's pretty damn good. If I've got to say to myself, like I'd open an email like that. Hey Joel, curious how you keep the efficiency to Expand Digital running. I'd be like, okay, that's actually pretty interesting. And then you can see down here, let's chat about your ops experience at AE Doors, CAD and entrepreneurship, cool combo, building and construction business market. Yeah, pretty cool stuff. So you can see there we've got some good solutions. Now, custom openers, we for the test run a GPT 4.1. It's decent. I don't think GPT 4.1 is the best model here. For example, we see Andrew again. Saw your leading marketing at Rise Renovation Austin. Real estate and renovations in that market must keep you busy. Figured I'd reach out. Cool. Andrew, actually this, show how Andrew got up there. They must have run a separate set of data for GPT 4.1. But again, you can see that the models, Saw you running things at Apex Lumber, been looking into the lumber industry lately and figured I'd reach out. This is a pretty cool little opener. And then, hey Andrew, saw you're the GM at Apex Lumber. I work with a lot of folks in the building material space and figured I'd reach out. Again, Opus crushed it. Now, how did this perceived quality actually carry through to results? So we're gonna jump into results and then we're gonna get into the actual make.com build. So how do we go? Let's go get into the results. So remember, we had a 1.3% control rate. GPT 4.1, I don't have the data here, actually was worse. It got a 1.04% response rate. Now this isn't conclusive. I didn't run 10,000 leads. If I was to run more leads, I'd get more conclusive data. But I think it does pretty much answer the question that a badly optimized subject line or personalized subject line and bad personalization is actually worse than good static copy. Haiku got up to 2%. So considering that Haiku was about 5 cents per 1,000 emails, plus whatever your make credits are, or N8N if you host it yourself, you've almost doubled response for virtually nothing. So definitely worth the extra work. Sonnet 3.7, I think this one, 2.3% response rate, pretty decent. 3.7 is pretty cheap too. Yeah, $1.50 per 1,000. I mean, it's pretty no-brainer. And then you've got Opus, 3.93% response rate against a 1.3% control. And it's about $7 per 1,000 emails. So, you got to weigh it up and go, is it worth it? Personally, I think getting 3 times as many leads out of it is definitely worth it. Now, to answer the next question, which is, what happens if you really hit it out the park? And I'm going to get into that in a sec. First, hibiscus tea. Guys, I say hibiscus tea because this business is stressful. Keep your antioxidants pumping. Research it, you'll realize it's a God's gift. And I've tried a lot of health things, and it's cheap and it tastes good. Anyway, so the big hit, we got to a 6.85% response, and that was with a custom icebreaker. So what we did is I basically took this same email and we inserted a custom icebreaker at the top here. So what we'll do, basically the custom icebreaker just went in. Oh, not sure why this isn't letting me type. Icebreaker. And it just went in there. And then we went to the same static text. Now, the icebreakers or custom openers, we ran 3.5. It's not in here, but they're going to be very similar to 3.7, which is just something simple like this. Just something to say, hey, I'm not a standard, just reach out for anything. Email, not just spamming everyone. And that got to a 6.85% response rate. So definitely worth personalizing. Now, the reason we got such a big response rate is because we're now multiplying personalization elements. You're multiplying the jump from people opening it to then having an impact of the personalization. Now, I'm going to be doing another full test on icebreakers soon on models, scripts, as well as tokens to see where is the tipping point. And there'll be a follow-up video. Drop a comment below if you want me to do that video sooner than later. It's one of the tests that I've got scheduled. But if you want that sooner than later, drop a comment below. Definitely subscribe so you get it. I reckon I can get that to 10%. So that's that. Now, let's jump into some automations here, guys. So honestly, it's a pretty simple automation. What we do, we pull from Google Sheets. So as you said, this was remodeling home services niche. So basically Google Sheets, search rows, pull it, connect to the sheet, pull it up, and just pull the data through. Then we run that through a Claude prompt. So this is my final test. This wasn't the one I ran on. I did a final test to see what happens with 2,000 tokens. Negligible. It's not really that much better. So spending 4 times as much over the 500 tokens, not really worth it. So basically this one, the assistant role will basically tell it what it is. You're an intelligent assistant at creating subject lines. Feed it some data. In this case, we basically fed LinkedIn data. Now, I picked a remodeling industry specifically because there's very little data available on a lot of contractors on LinkedIn. These guys aren't that active on the platform. So it's not like, if you're selling to agencies or if you're selling to recruiters or you're selling to accountants or lawyers, like all those guys, they make their LinkedIn really polished because they sell B2B. But people like contractors don't. So there's very little information available here, which means the AI had to work hard to essentially create a cool custom opener. Fed it basically said, hey, here's all the data. So to get the data, we did an Apify scrape of the LinkedIn profiles. So when you export from Apollo, you then get the LinkedIn URL, and then you can basically scrape that to pull the field through. And that then basically fed through. Temperature 0.6. Don't want to go temperature too flexible because it gets a little too creative. Simple JSON, just pulling out the text response. So, because we're asking it to respond in JSON, and then simply send it back to the sheet. And when you send it back to the sheet, this is an example here. Essentially, it'll shoot it back into an email personalization row, and then the subject line personalization row. So with the model here, again, you can swap in and out of GPT or Claude here. Biggest differences, we changed things like you're writing an icebreaker instead of you're writing a line. Figured I'd reach out just to make it super chill. And then just fed it some sample data into it. And then same thing, extract it, drop it back into the Google Sheet. So it's basically, hey, pull data out of Google Sheet, research people based on their LinkedIn data, phrase it, send it back to the Google Sheet. And what you'll see in your Google Sheet as you're running the model is you just have it run down and fill these out. Obviously Make.com has, its 45-minute limit, which is fine for this situation. In this situation, you really just need to export a big chunk of data and do it in a couple of thousand leads at a time. If you're obviously going to be doing larger amounts than that, then you can webhook data in. And honestly, I'd use N8N if you're using more than a few thousand leads at a time anyway, to keep your costs down. So guys, that is it. That is how we turned a 1.3%. So guys, that is exactly how we turned a 1.3% response rate static control email into a 6.85% response rate email with a customized subject line and a customized email icebreaker, with the subject written by Opus and the icebreaker written by Sonnet 3.5. I'm going to continue testing. I reckon I can get response rates to 10% in that same industry. So what that means is the same effort, the same number of leads, you'll almost be able to 10x the number of meetings that you get from it. So I hope this has been useful. If you want more videos like this, or if you'd like a full breakdown of how to build these systems, drop a comment below. And if you'd like to see more test data, let me know. Or if you'd like to see more client acquisition data, again, let me know. I'm Joel House, and love to hear from you guys. See ya.